Well, good morning. Well, thank you for coming. And my idea here when I submitted this talk here was exactly to try to bring a little technical discussion to this universe of Agile Coach, which is in frank expansion. So I have a disclaimer here based on the fishbowl I had yesterday with some corridor hallway talks. I will use the term Agile Coach here in a sense of anyone who works with software development and helps these people who are developing should work within what is defined in the manifest from the viewpoint of values, from the viewpoint of principles. So if you are a Scrum Master, an Enterprise Agile Coach, an Agile Manager, whichever, you will benefit from some of the things that I am bringing here. All right? Well, my basic assumption is based on the laws of software entropy, which were discussed by many people here, but maybe the most common, I would say, the most popular one are these two laws here that Lehman talked about during the 70s. That any one of us who has worked with software know that this is true, but sometimes some truths must be said and said again and again. If you have a software and you manage it, you manage it to have enough success for people to use your software, you have to give maintenance to that software. Therefore, you will change it. Therefore, you need to have some care. You need to be careful because as you change it, because you potentially add new features, and with that you add new complexities. If you don't fight against this, you create a big problem. So you saw here this call a few months ago. A big company, a known company, processed or sued another big company in $32 million. And I went there to see if that was only fake news or what was behind that. And there are the references afterwards. You can take a look for yourselves. But basically what happened was that, among other things, there was a software development team that they started to develop that software, and they did not necessarily use good patterns for development, nor even good patterns and the way that programming language had to be properly written. So this generated, as we create the code there, it created small problems and small problems and small problems, and these problems, made the customer very unhappy. And then the customer came back to the company and said, well, this is not working. This is not working. It is very bad. And somebody went there, assessed the situation, and someone more of the executive level, and said, well, this is true. We need to solve this problem. And to solve this problem, you need to pay more money. Well, the customer then was very, very unhappy. He was very mad at it. He said, I'm not going to make any judgment calls here, but what I want to say here is that if we have a software problem and we need to solve it, we are going to spend more money. So I am not going to dwell in details why this happened or that, people are this or that. No, what we know when we work with software development, we know that depending on the change we are going to do, it will cost money, and depending on the change, it will cost much more money. So we need to be concerned with this from the very beginning. If you are still not convinced, let me use another classical metaphor here from 1992 that Cunningham wrote, which is, think of a person who starts life. Let's take Ronaldo here. He's starting his life. Ronaldo started to work his first job. He started to make some money. What did he say? Well, I'll buy a car. Well, if I have a car, I have more chances during the night to find a suitable partner. I know many people who did exactly this. So after he got his car, he went to the night, he found some girls, he started a relationship. He said, I'll go out on a vacation. He took that money that was coming and he went on vacation. Afterwards, he went to live together with a girl and he bought a pet. Well, let's train the pet before having a child. So if everything is working, they said, no, let's get married now. But then the problem started, not because of marriage. I'm not against marriage in any way, but he didn't have the budget that he had before. He no longer had the budget. He had, even in having being two of them, both having a salary, it didn't work. So they took some loan. And as they went to a house, they started a loan, one more loan, one more debt. You all know the story or has been through this. This is exactly what happens with the software. We start making some decisions, and since it's a greenfield project, we can do whatever we want. As this project grows, the user becomes happy, we add more things, and then we decide to take some shortcuts because we have to ship it, as Alexandre said a while ago. Well, it might be deliberate or not. No, I will do this with less features because I need so, but later I have to run after it. Otherwise, it becomes a snowball, and then you will have a huge problem in your hands. So this is the metaphor of the technical debt that I believe many of you already knew, that needs to be tackled from the technical and importance viewpoint, because it has to do with the software. We added more complexity in our software development. And then I was going to mention this. People said I was stealing this from Martin Fowler, so I only took this chart from his slides, where he shows exactly the same problem. This is a paper he wrote about 3 or 4 months ago about the design payoff. What happens in other places? Well, let's see. I'll give you an example of deliberately I did something with less quality or less safety to deliver it faster, less security. I was deliberate. I knew I was doing that, and I know that at some point I'll have to pay for that decision I made. But eventually we make other decisions. And one of the reports we had that in the case of a company is that sued the others, that the people didn't have any design process. And when we say design, it is not design, well, let's have a design thinking session here and there. No, it is software design, to stop, plan, and how that component will be executed. How do I add that microservice with the other one? Why my IT needs this and that, because I have internal and external customers and so on. So this type of situation needs to be inherent to the daily lives of software development. If you still haven't believed me yet, there's a book now, a book based on the state of office called Accelerate, and some people have talked about this here in this very conference, and it says that organizational performance is totally associated with the performance in software delivery. What do I see happening oftentimes in the market? People say, well, I'm an enterprise agile coach. I don't work with teams. I work with a business layer. I work with strategy. So what this scientific study proved is that if you truly want to make any difference, or one of the valid ways to make a difference at organizational performance is to do positive changes in the software delivery performance. This is totally correlated. So when we expand this guy here, we get to this situation in which the software delivery has to do with continuous delivery as well as the psychological security culture. And here many of us who enter this position of agile coach, on the one hand less technical, tend to be on the second box there. It is very important, very important to have that. But I want to talk about the next one. When we expand the next one, it talks about many items, much more than it shows here. The print is small. I'm not sure if you all can read, but look at the references later. But we are talking about code maintenance. In other words, every day the code you are writing, you have to be concerned that it has to be able to be maintained. You have to maintain there. There's the classical phrase, everyone writes a code that works. Very few write a code that besides working, other human beings can read, understand, and maintain. So We have to be concerned with this type of thing. We have to be concerned with architecture. We have to have low coupling, because the more couplings there are, less I can change, and so on and so forth. So once again, these things will make a difference for us when we talk about organizational performance. So if you are an enterprise agile coach, you have to be concerned with this. If it's not you that who are going to do, it's somebody from your team, call somebody from outside and solve it somehow, but please solve it, because it does make a difference. And here you see the difference. We see traditional teams compared with what they call here in this universe of scientific study as the elite team. They have a lead time that is 106 times faster, 106 times faster, 208 times more deploys as the frequency with which they can work. So these are excellent figures, excellent numbers. So let's try and get there. Can we get there? Because oftentimes we see that list, especially when I'm a delivery engineer working with many items, people get scared. They say, well, this is too much. I can't do this. Well, there's always something that can be done. Start small. Extreme programming. We have to go back and talk about this. We are talking a lot about Scrum. We're talking too much about Kanban. We're talking too much about, many things that are meaningless today, or don't work alone. We have to be more agnostic in a way of what will work for us and what will not work for us. And what I propose to you, what I submit to you, is let's bring back what extreme programming had. Well, as an agile coach, you like post-it, you like drawing, you can start with a pairing table. You will have here the name or the picture of those who work with you. And whenever people pair here, either you mark it with you check it with an X or a cross, and you'll write the date when people did it. However, another problem we have is that people make their pairing matrices and they stop right there. So you have to go a bit farther. What is to truly pair? What are the characteristics when I pair? Well, in here you have to work with the rotation dynamics. What are the rotation dynamics here? Well, there are many things with which you have to be concerned with, and all of this will always provide an answer to your context based on why pairing exists. Why was it invented? Well, I believe that most of us in here either had a technical program or some programming study course in school. When you were learning, did you do things alone, or did you sit with someone to help you program? And this is the principle, the exchange. How do you make this exchange happen in our daily lives? Remember that each one has his machine, his IDE. People fight. They say it's better than IMAX. So make it so that in the dynamic, I pair one day on one's machine, the other day on another's machine. You learn new shortcuts, new ways of working with that code. This is part of the dynamic. When to do this is another question that happens many times. Well, when I'm pairing, I have to be 100% pairing. Is it really true? Is it everything that I need to do has to truly be 100% pairing? Well, Yuri here, when he talked about mob programming, he said when to do and not to do. Well, these rules are also applicable to us. You see that look at what makes sense to you, but make it happen. Make it happen. And what roles do we have to pair? Oftentimes we think that only these have to pair among themselves. But if you have in your team Mary, who's great in infra, dig, oxy, whatever is the term in your company, make her pair with someone who's different, because Debbie will know more about deploy and will help be able to get to the situation of continuous deployment, just like she will learn more about code writing and her scripts will be better. We have in our team, we have an intern there. He is starting his professional career now, and one of the things we want him to do is to pair with everyone, including the PO and the manager, so that he can see what are each one of these roles. This is also part of his learning as a professional who is joining the market now. Another thing that is very important from here, and I will tell you, this is what I showed in my submission from now. I thought that talking about refactoring would be low level, but let me show you who are not very technical. Let's think that when we have the possibility of stopping the entire team to think of what is a technical debt, do this. Do this. Oftentimes what I see people doing is that they make a session, an architecture session, tech huddle, or whatever is the name, and they create a list and they say, well, now I know what I need to do, or what are the debts that I have in my code and my system, and then stops. He put this document in the shared drive or the wiki, and it's one more of these places where documents go to die. It shouldn't be done like that. It has to be alive. So an alternative, or for me, one of the most feasible alternatives is to see you again as an agile coach. You have to stimulate, always stimulate, that the items that are in the list should go to the continuous workflow that you have in your daily routines. Take it to your boards. How are you going to do this? Well, it depends. Many people that I see doing this successfully, they define a percentage. Every 3 features or 3 stories that I put there on the board, one will be the item that I am bringing a technical debt item, that is. So you have to have these talks all the time, every sprint beginning, if you do Kanban, that beginning ceremony, right? If you are doing a lean inception where you are not starting a project from scratch, or your project is connected to some software, some product that already exists, take this list to the discussion, that so when you categorize what is important, what is not, what is the technical impact, so this has to be considered. Because otherwise, once again, our complexity will only increase. And Ronaldo, that had already got some loan after his marriage, then financing, and now he is, is not being able to have some economical feasibility.
Questions? I wanted to bring to you actual examples of things we're doing now, but I understand that you have things that you do yourselves. So, besides the question, should anybody have any contribution to make of this to this universe? One of the things, to any of the things that really concerns me today, the Boy Scouts rule: when you come into camp, and then you leave, the area has to be left better than when you found it. This is another technique. I'm sure that you also have some other technique, or if you want to learn of what we're doing, we have still, 5 minutes for questions? Very good. Congratulations on your content and on your for the lecture and your content. I think we should have Agile Brazil should have a lot more of this. The Scrum Master was related to the team as related to each speech. We're now are agilists, circus agilists, stage agilists. Do you think that it should be valid to backtrack where the Scrum Master XPTO coach should take up the pains of the team? Classical consultant answers this: depends. It depends on what you're doing in your daily operations. If you're a person who's focused in guaranteeing that processes are happening, yes, it is much more a role of the process analyst than anything else. If you also have work that involves growing your universe of knowledge and agility to the team, in teams correlated to yours, then it may make sense to play specific roles. If you're a person who does people management, then this rotating it will be more complicated because there will be a lack of abilities, of skills, and rotating that you need, and rotating it may not provide it. This will change, but I concur with you in 100% that if you're not of just copy and paste or just adding post-its, this is not going to be much of a change in your universe, which is a mistake as far as I'm concerned. More questions? Congratulations on your lecture. Indeed, I would like to give this question back to our friend over yonder because he mentioned roles that should really rotate. And as far as agility is concerned, each one should play its own role. I'm not sure he's listening. And what is the role of the Scrum Master? Was the question to you? You're here? I'll try to sum it up. Question was, do you think the Scrum Master and the PO add value by rotating? Is this the question? Well, yes, you would, in the sense that there's the technical issue, such as the purpose of the lecture. There's a technical bias. If this person came from dev or from a technical career and went through all these hardships. I've had an intern who wanted to be project manager in 6 months. In 6 months, his goal for the next 6 months was to be a project manager, which was entirely senseless. And I think that a PO or a Scrum Master should track this trail of coding, of having stayed overnight, solving a production problem involving millions of reals or the lives of people that could be saved by the software. And it should to understand what are the pains and the hardships that you have to endure. So we had the persona, we have the insert, but it is not that simple to have an API in the air. And what I see is that the Scrum Master or PO just click his finger, snaps his finger, and the software is ready. This is part of the story, as well as technical people who should carry a psychological bias of human sciences and people understanding. Many people put their earphones on and they don't relate to anybody in the team. There's both sides too. In collaboration, I think it all depends. We have to look at your situation. I think that part of your proposal of the proposal is that even when you don't code, you may facilitate the technical team to become more aware of good software engineering to the extent of making better deliveries, and this will also impact the psychological safety of the team. And if you don't contact, if you don't try and solve bugs, this will be bad for everybody. Since there's no more time, I'm glad I was here. Call me on the aisles. Thank you.